Yo, cut. I'm
What are we
Reggie.
doing? No, let's keep it moving. What's your name?
Reggie. I know my name.
He does know his name. His name is Reggie. I'm Robert, and you are
Matt Rutterer.
I'm gonna have you pronounce it this
Yeah, all
time.
right. I'll see if I can do it right.
Matt's straight out of Chicago, Chi-Town. He came down here to actually join us for a conversation about his website. Actually, and his website is the name of.
Rite Advantage is the name of the website that has anything you need MRI education.
And we're going to dive into that in a moment, but I'm more curious about you and your background. So you have 3 kids.
I have 3 children.
Boys, girls, mixed.
I've got a 10-year-old daughter. I've got a 6-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
You're outnumbered.
You've got a lot of
You got
energy
me
in the
outnumbered.
house.
Yeah, I know. I am
I've got
outnumbered.
a 6 and a 9-year-old myself, so
Oh, you
I
do?
understand for sure. yeah.
Perfect age, right? I mean, you can just play, you be a child yourself.
If I can be honest, I would say 7 is probably the best age because they're old enough to hang out with.
Yeah.
But they still think you're cool. But right around my son's 9,
Okay.
he's starting to think that his friends are cooler now.
Oh,
so,
no.
And I'm willing to battle his friends.
Oh, yeah.
Well, from what I hear,
the
Robert, you're not
belt.
making those jump shots like you used to either.
Well,
right?
you know, it's years ago that I played, so I got to work on my jump shot for sure. But Reggie, didn't you break your ankle a couple of years ago?
Oh, we got to go there. Huh? I'll see how this episode's going to be.
You got crossed over, didn't you? Well, super excited to have you.
Yeah,
We just
thank
actually
you, man.
recorded another episode with you. But on this episode, we're going to kind of dive more in depth with the website that you created. So if you would, just take it from there.
Perfect. So when we look at MR in general, I mean, there's so many components to it, right? I mean, we could be that cardiac tech at your site. You could be that tech that everyone goes to for the image optimization, or that radiologist turns to and says, hey, you know what, Reggie, we need you to be, let's have you do this exam, and you're the guy that they go to and turn to get those awesome images. But you're not born that way. You have to learn this stuff. And so Rite Advantage was created in 2009 as a way to get that information and train individuals to get to that level of competency that they want to get to. And so we started out with just MRI. How do you pass your boards? Let's just get you to pass your boards. All right, let's start small. But we've evolved from that quite a bit to introduce cardiac, which takes you from the ground up. Cardiac imaging, you have to know your anatomy, right? So it starts with anatomy, physiology, and then kind of dives into technical components, plotting, and then it dives into how do you optimize that image. You have that a patient has arrhythmias or all those other considerations that you need to look at from a retrospective, prospective gating, all of that, and then takes you to pathology. I mean, you have to know what you're looking at. If you see something, you might be doing something extra. So it kind of takes you through that whole process. So
Well, I
that's
would sorry to interrupt,
Oh,
but I
go
would
ahead.
just say as a cardiac tech who just recently started training, about just over a year ago, but almost 2 years, I started looking for information out there on how I can better educate myself as a tech, and I came across your website. So I actually found it very useful and very helpful. So
good.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and we're trying to kind of even take it to another step here. So when you log in, you'll see this kind of pop up that kind of walks you through the process. So we designed the course based on how you look. I spent years looking at how people learn. Right? So how do you learn the best? Small chunks of information, making it fun, emotional, bringing the emotion into it, and making it funny, entertaining. Right? I mean, it keeps you engaged. So we want to make sure we're engaged. We want to make sure that continue to learn. And so we had designed these courses in different ways. So I looked and thought, what is helpful? I created these little gauges. So I use an algorithm. And so when you're preparing for one of these exams, like your MRSO exam, I have this gauge where it actually tells you how prepared you are to take this exam based on your performance.
Nice.
And so it's a kind of a complex algorithm based on
Well,
what
do you guys
exams you're
offer
doing.
like a mock registry or anything like that?
We do mocks for MRI. We do mock exams for MRSO, so MR Safety Officer, and MR Safety Expert. And so we have those as well. And then we have these charts that says how prepared you are for them. And you'll see over a period of time, you'll lose competency based on our algorithm because as you're further away from the information, you lose that information. Right? I mean, it kind of gets away from you. So anything that offers a preparation for registry, we have these gauges for you. We offer CE points, and we're moving towards 24 CE points for all of our major courses. Yeah, so you get all your points, and then we have a loyalty program as well. So you earn the more education you gain, you get points, right? And those are for free products. So now you, the more you can skip activities if you want in there, but if you do them, you get points for this, and you can use that to buy more education and kind of get yourself to a different level.
You know what? That is exactly how the Xbox reeled me in.
Really?
Their achievement points. I was like, oh, I got to get this achievement. Keep my
You
points
bet.
adding up.
Exactly. And so we built it that way. So the whole idea is to get you to where you need to be. And they're all kind of designed the same. The MRSO one, we'll kind of look at that one just because that one is a little bit unique. We're trying a new flow with this one where we have a lot of cartoons. So the whole thing is supposed to be entertaining. We want to take you to a different world, something that you can relate things to. Our MRI one takes us to a little more of extreme in terms of a different world, because MRI itself is kind of a wild physics ride, itself. So we take you on a little ride. But the MRSO one kind of brings you to the hospital, right? I mean, puts you in situations that you would be put into in a normal situation. These cartoons are based on things that our team has encountered in the field.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so you will help uncover a lot of these issues together. And so we have an education module which gives you the 24C points as you go through it. And then we have a library. So this library, we keep adding to it. It offers flashcards, printable flashcards, all the different best practices around the world. I have implant sheets, which I'm a big fan of. If you have an implant, when you go to your rad, how do you tell them what's important? So it kind of does that bucket, the 3 buckets that Dr. Canal always talks about.
Right.
But it puts it on paper. It makes it scannable, makes it, you can scan in your system and have it as a document. We have those MRI screening sheets that break it down, make it easier for patients to understand. And then we include these printable manuals. These are a 100-page manual and a 50-page manual on different things as well. And then we, again, have the ACR manual on MRI contrast, MR safety. And so once you get all that knowledge, you can go to your practice exams. We have 5 mock exams that simulate this MRSO exam. And so you go through these exams, and the unique part of this entire thing, and maybe I'll open it up, is that as you take these exams, it tells you why.
Alert.
Yeah, it tells you why you got the answer right or wrong, right? So,
I love that.
That's
the best way I learn.
It is, because you get something wrong, you're like, oh man, but then it tells you, hey, you got it wrong because of this.
Yeah.
And so that is one of those big components of the practice exams that we have. So we have them set up where you have 4 of these practice exams. You'll take 4 of these and they tell you what you got wrong and what you didn't. And then you have the mock exam piece of it where it simulates the MRI. You don't get these explanations. You were sitting for this test and you're taking it. And you can review the test later and then read the explanations if you want. So that's on there too.
That's awesome.
And let's just open the exam here.
I mean, we've worked with students who are doing their clinicals before, and they've talked about like different resources, and they've mentioned your website. So people are talking about it, and it's super helpful. It sounds like.
Yeah. So then, I'm just gonna pick whatever here and then see if this has it. But you can report questions too, and you can check them. There we go. Perfect. Let's see. And so you'll get an explanation. This is a small one. Typically, we have like videos, we have images, we have something that goes with it that kind of helps support that learning component to it. And then we added something really kind of neat. So you as a tech, you can take this knowledge, learn it, but one of the big components is how do you absorb it? How do you have to use it, right? I mean, you get all this knowledge and it's great, I got all these facts, but the MRSO exam is built on concepts. So how do you learn concepts? By being put in situations where you have to use that knowledge. And so the application. So we have this thing called the clinical environment. So you go there, and there's different exercises set up of different roles of an MRSO.
Do you need a VR helmet for this one?
I wish, honestly, if I could, if it was more accessible, that would be awesome. But they're not. They're again set up as cartoons. I think too many buttons there. But what you would want to do is that they set up in different areas where one is strictly on you're getting your patient, you're bringing them back outpatient, and they get you a screening sheet. You look through the screening sheet. Do you answer? They answered yes to this question. Well, how do you investigate it? And what are things you look for? And so those are some of the tools here. Let me see if I can just open the course up again. And then it takes it from a different perspective. Let's say you are the MRSO. You're sitting at a desk, and then someone calls you and says, hey, Reggie, I've got this implant. How do I handle it? Or, Robert, how do I handle this one? And you have to help them figure this out. And so you help them kind of go through that process together. And so this is the whole clinical environment, and it helps just secure that knowledge. It takes it to a different place, right? So instead of just like, okay, I memorized all the SAR limits for normal operating mode, the test is not going to say, hey, the normal operating mode is this. They're going to say, how do we apply this? You're scanning this, body part, or they have this implant, or which implant are you most concerned of? Here's your screening sheet.
They give you a bunch of information that you might not even need.
Exactly.
And
so it's a lot more challenging. So we broke it up into different, situations and in practice.
Oh, this is so cool.
And then we have you have a site audit. So you as an MRSO will go to a site and audit it. Are the zones labeled right? What labeling do you need for the site? What do you find in each zone 2, zone 3, zone 4? And so you actually go to these areas and you actually site design it.
That's amazing.
So it actually applies all that knowledge. So it just takes it to that extra step.
Right.
And again, it's not necessary, but this helps you, again, reach those loyalty point achievements. It helps you kind of get to that I'm prepared for my exam, you know, on that gauge. And so we kind of structure our courses that way. And again, we try to incorporate fun. We try to make this educational. These are really long exams. They could take you anywhere from, you know, 8 hours to, you know, 24 hours, depending on how, you know, how much knowledge you have going into it. So they are pretty comprehensive, and they will get you all that information you need to know for that MRSO exam. And so we've prided ourselves for the last 5 years. We're the longest running online strict MR safety training program.
How long have you been established for?
Since 2015. Okay. So we just got in there 2015, which is kind of when the American Board of MRSO started their push. So we just said, this is awesome. You know, we jumped on it. We started designing the course, and we've been tweaking it ever since.
You know, I took my boards in 2012, and I remember looking so hard for something like Rad Review Easy for X-ray, but for MRI, and it was nothing like that back then.
There's nothing there, and so like that's the thing. It's if you have a tool that not only just says here's the facts, but how do you apply that? Like you can't. I could list millions of questions, and they might not be anything like you'll find on the boards. And these people are looking for like word for word. You got to understand the concept. Exactly. If you one concept can answer 17 questions, 20, 100 questions, but one fact can only answer one question.
Right. Or at the very least, at least understand why you got the question wrong.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because some of the concepts are kind of tough.
True.
But one of the things that always helps me is visualization. And if I can kind of visualize something, which is what I like so much about your website, is like if you can visualize it, then it's easier to remember for sure. Like you can relate it to something, you know, and like you said with the emotion, if it's fun and entertaining, you know.
Exactly.
I think just by nature we're into imaging, so we're very visual people,
ARRT,
right?
Yeah.
So
artists,
artists, yeah. And so, you know, when you look at it, and I like to hide Easter eggs in it because I think that's always fun. Kind of when you're watching something and in the background you see something happen, you're like, hey, wait, did that really happen? Like, you know, something
fun,
that, you normally see, or like something that maybe a tech that you've worked with has done in the past. And these are like normal things. Funny. You're like, wait a second, that's Jimmy, that's you know, Rick. You know? So
that's fun. I like how you add that element.
Cool, so it's kind of it's a fun learning experience. I try to make it as engaging as possible and comprehensive. And then again, we offer that for a bunch of different areas. So we have cardiac, we have image optimization. Let's get you to where you need to be. Let's look at an image and say, what would you do to this image to make this pathology, and there's a tumor there? How do you make that stand out? What are you going to do to your TE? What do you, why is this truly a T1 weighted image? How do you make that T1 look better?
Right.
What do you do to your TR? When you look at your resolution, I mean, I think we all kind of, you know, resolution, image matrix, field of view if you've been in the field long enough, but there's subtleties to it. Like, what's the process of how we want to optimize this image? That we can actually eliminate extra steps, going back and adding more signal and doing this. There should be a systematic approach to everything that we do. So that's our image optimization course that we offer as well.
Now, if you had like something happen at work and you're like, oh man, I'm looking on the internet, can't find it. Is like your information on here, like the library that you showed us, is that searchable?
We are developing an actual library where you can type in search words. It'll search certain websites that are MRI related only that we feel offer content and ones that we've added to it. So it's actually a filtered thing that we're kind of designing right now.
I think that's needed so bad. That's a great idea.
And then again, you know, a little off topic with Rite Advantage, but we have the MRI Buzz, which can, if you do need that extra information, you have tutoring options. So you can go and get that extra tutoring, one-on-one, private, online tutoring, and then you schedule it whenever you're convenient.
A lot of people that would love that.
Yeah.
Right. And is this MRIBuzz.com or just a YouTube channel that they go to?
It's MRIBuzz.com.
Okay.
And then we have a link on the homepage, and if you sign up, you'll be able to link it from there as well. And you schedule whenever it's convenient for you, and you go through it that way.
I love the name, MRI Buzz.
Yeah. Thank you. So there's so many options out there and so many things that you can find. And, you know, like a Rite Advantage is a great tool if you need to get ready for the MRI boards, you want to know more about it, you want to review, or you just want 24 CE points. I've got a lot of friends that are like, hey, I know MRI. I just need 24 CE points. My panel's coming up. I need that. They take the course, they get it through in like, you know,
then
2
learn
hours,
something
3 hours.
They thought they knew, but now they really know.
Now they're
That's
like,
happened to me a couple of times. I'm like,
and it's a good thing for discussion because these texts will come in there and they're like, hey, did you know that? Like, I didn't know that, or I totally forgot this, or it's good to keep your skills up because we are responsible for our own education.
We are.
Hospitals, they're not going to be responsible for that. They're going to give you the bare minimum of what you can get, but it's your responsibility to go to them, ask them for any finances for education. It's your responsibility to truly be an advocate for yourself.
Kind of take charge.
Exactly. It's all on you. Yeah. So But we offer a lot of courses. We've got a video here that's free, a free CE point, heating and burns and MRI. It's an hour video of just every burn, dives down to the physics of why it happens. I have another one coming out this year on MR, magnetism and MR. So it looks at lenses for us and all of those things. And I have, again, I try to make it as engaging. So I've got these fun experiments of the toy cars and everything and magnetic spatial gradients. And so, yeah, we really try to have fun with that. I'm working with a gentleman, Luca, and this artifact and technical. He's got a book out that's phenomenal, and we work together. I offer CE points to go with his book. Oh, nice! And so you can get the CE points with that as well.
And what was his book on?
His book is called Artifacts and Technical Solutions in MRI Diagnostic Imaging. So we work together on that, and then
that's one of the biggest challenges that I've noticed that a lot of technologists kind of struggle with. Is not just identifying artifacts, but knowing the solution once you identify the artifact, right?
Exactly, yeah. And there's so many things of what direction. I mean, there's so many of them. So how do you know, like, this is the phase direction, this is the frequency direction? And that helps identify what the artifact is, right? If something, I mean, certain artifacts can look similar, but depending on the direction it's in, will determine what it is. And so it's kind of, interesting. And his book dives really deep into that. And he's constantly modifying. He's got a website, too, that you get access to as well. And if you want the 10 CE points that go with it, we've offered the 10 C points that go with it as well. And then we've got these mini courses that are just like, parameters in MR safety. The AIC document kind of goes through that. Right. And those are kind of our spin-offs. But we do offer group sales. So if there's multiple groups, you can set up a group leader, and they can go ahead and kind of initiate the entire process. And
so it can kind of be team-based too, where you can interact with each other, chat and stuff. Oh, that's awesome.
We're doing some more social-based. We got a lot of gamification in the process, so we're trying to do a lot of engaging.
I can tell a lot of thought's been put into this. Yeah, very impressed so far.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we're trying to do a lot of fun things to kind of just make it an engaging, fun, social process, because we're not going to get this from the hospitals. We got to get it from each other. And we all know the usefulness of having that Reggie, that Robert at the site to help teach us what we're doing. Right. But not everyone has that. Like, I was trained by good techs, but they just didn't know how to teach well, and they didn't have all the knowledge. Where do you get that then? But now you have a community. That's where MRI Buzz comes into play. It's a community where people can go. And Rite Advantage, there's tools now that you have that you can go ahead and educate yourself. Because we're advocates for ourselves, and get those people. Go knock on Registry, knock on Robert, and say, hey, you know what? I need some help. And there's a community now.
I love that. Yeah.
So,
and the community in MR is just so warm and welcoming.
It is.
We're learning that just by starting this podcast. How amazing!
And you guys are doing wonderful with it. You guys are podcast doing really good.
Yes.
So
thank you.
Yeah, a lot of amazing people out there watching our podcast, so we appreciate the support, and and thank you guys.
Well, it sounds like people are starting to realize more and more the importance of education with MRI safety and just protocols and just building parameters and stuff like that. And so,
it's when we finally get tired of going to work every day and feeling like we're not doing the best for our patient or not knowing what we're doing, right? I mean, it's kind of like you sit there and you're like, okay, well, I think I'm doing good, or I'm just gonna, I've worked with techs like I just want to go fast. And what is the impact? Like, what is the impact on my image when my bandwidth goes down really low? Like, what is that impact?
Right.
And when we understand, like, if someone were to say, hey, if I go down on my bandwidth, I'm getting more signal. It's an easy way to get signal. But what am I doing to the amount of frequencies I'm sampling per pixel? Like, what is it doing to the quality of this image?
Right.
Would you really do that again?
Right.
I mean, the benefits really, do they truly outweigh that?
Right.
The causality of what's happening.
Right.
And so, knowing that and finding those resources to get yourself educated is super important. I was tired of just going to work every day and not knowing everything and just researching it. And finally, if everything's bundled up nicely for you in a package that is rolled out, entertaining for you, why not, right?
Why not? Yeah. And what I've noticed too is like when it becomes more of a challenge, like when you're looking, because you can have two different types of people, because MRI can be very easy at the very base level, right? But if you really look deep into MRI and you really want to learn the ins and outs of it, it's extremely challenging. But when you're looking at it as a challenge is when you're having the most fun out of it, I've noticed.
For sure.
It is.
And the feeling that you get when you finally get that knowledge and you can apply it. Like, man, like I learned that, I see a mass and I want this mass to stand out, pop out.
Right.
Well, I learned that if you do this with your TRT, whatever it is, it's going to pop out more. Oh man, the feeling when it does pop out and you're like, and then you get a call from the rad saying, hey, you know what? This was an amazing case. I don't know what you did.
Actually, I got a call like that about 2 weeks ago. It really made my day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It does make a big difference. I think any radiologist listening, it makes a big deal on the motivation of your staff.
Right.
If you at least compliment them. We only
Right.
hear when we do something wrong.
Right.
But if you hear when we do something right, it makes you feel like, hey, look, I'm honest. I want to learn more. I like this feeling.
You're so right about that. Yeah, it does give you that little, oh, yeah, I got this. Yeah. That was me. I did that.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah.
Right.
So go ahead, Reggie.
Yeah, so one of the things that I've noticed already off the bat from your website versus some of the other ones that I've seen is just how well it's organized.
Very
There
user
was-
friendly.
Yeah, it was one website, I'm not going to call out any names, but you literally open it and it's like links to PDFs all over the place, and it's like I don't know if it was even organized in a way that was easy to even grab the information that you wanted. So this is really nice.
We try to do what we call a walkthrough. I like to do a walkthrough. When you click on things, it gets annoying if it keeps popping up, but we set it up where it pops up once. So the first time you're in anything, it says, okay, this is how you work with this. This is where you go. It's kind of either a mini video we have on some of these courses that are a little more involved, or just these little images that you can kind of close to. It's like, you want to start here, you want to move to here. This is how you want to structure your learning process.
That's awesome.
And so
it's the technologist that's building this platform for technologists.
exactly, yeah.
So it shows.
So yeah, thank
For us bias.
So yeah, if there's anything, any knowledge, I mean, we're open to suggestions. We even have report questions. If you feel like that question could be reworded a little bit better, I mean, we're constantly tweaking this. I mean, it is an ongoing thing. What you see is real time, and so we've been working hard on this.
So you offer CEUs and they're ARRT accredited.
All ART category A from the AHRA.
Yeah.
So we and like I said, most of these courses we're moving to the 24. If you're going to spend the time get this information, you might as well make it, get hit every check every box, right?
Right.
So that's what we aim
love
for,
that.
and get it done in one shot. We're trying to make it as easy as possible to get them and make sure that the structured learning is there.
Right.
It's easy to learn, step by step there. We want to make sure that before you take these CE little tests, mini tests, because you have to take little questions for it, that you're prepared for it. Like
Right.
they're blocked in little 8 to 16 question little brackets, so they're not like this huge 150 thing that you have to answer all right and pass.
Right.
We break it up in each little section, so it's easy to follow, easy to apply that knowledge. And
Well, it's human nature to have anxiety with tests, right?
It is.
Sounds like that you're actually very helpful with kind of helping to reduce that.
yeah. So
Because one of the biggest questions I get from some of the students that I work with is, how do I know when I'm ready to take the test? You know? So just the fact that they can kind of gauge how prepared they are
yes.
right from the interface.
And we back that up. I mean, so if you're sitting for your MRI exam and you were ready to take this, and for some reason you do not pass, you get all your money back.
Oh,
And
that's
we are
awesome.
that confident that we will get you to where you need to be.
Oh,
That
nice.
we will give it all back. There's no little, there's a commission or a fee for whatever. There's everything is back. I mean, and we have not had to do that.
Now, is this a one-time fee, subscription-based?
It's a one-time fee at this point. We
Oh,
have some new things that we're rolling out in the next year or two that we're really excited about.
Oh,
I don't
nice.
want to roll out yet.
NDAs?
So, but we're
You ready to make a big announcement?
yeah. At this moment, there's so many hoops, and we're working with a lot of other individuals.
right.
You guys will be the first to know.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Stay
tuned.
It has never been done before. Let's just say that.
Really?
So, yes.
Oh, nice.
It's a complete, engaging. It's amazing. I'll just say
sweet.
that. Yeah. So.
Is it an arcade?
You know what? There's we were trying to toy with like games. Again, it's
Right.
like quiz shows and stuff like that. So where you can find someone in a different area of the state and kind of have a little study group and like
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
do things, and kind of
Oh, that's
bring
cool.
stuff together
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So we're trying to do
Thinking outside the box. I like that.
yeah. So. But that's essentially it, and we try to cover it all. We're trying to we have some new courses coming out that are 24 that we're working with some partners on for specialty like functional MRI and all that as well, training courses. And I think the one question we get the most is, okay, you optimize your image. Well, what vendor? Well, we are as unbiased as possible with the ARRT. The ARRT is going to quiz you on terminology of what the terms are called, and that's kind of where we go. Every vendor has the same parameters, they're just called something different, right? And so we just say, this is, if you've passed your ARRT, you'll understand the language here. There's no special language whatsoever in this. It's what you see on that ARS syllabus, and what you've learned is what you see. So there's no vendor specific anything, but we do offer some documents in there that are like, hey, here's the language breakdown. This is what this means to this.
that's
So
nice.
you can print that up and actually figure that out at the same time. So
I noticed too that sometimes it's hard to Google that information because you're getting something from back in 2012 You know, and MRI, you can't even go a month without having some kind of drastic change in
Exactly.
MRI. So that's
You got to be
nice.
real time. If you're not
gotta be
real time,
real
you're
time.
missing something, you know?
Right.
So,
That's great, man. This is awesome.
well, thank you very much.
Damn.
But yeah, so you can even look back at some of your progress. So we each have progress tabs. You can track, it tracks things out for you. You can look at what your scores were for your exams. You can dive down.
Straight A student. Huh?
Yeah. And then so you can look at all your priors and everything like
Show
that.
that on purpose, Dave.
Yeah, so let's just go back to that section. No, but you can look at all your different courses, what your progress is on it. You can look at all the quizzes you took.
Man,
and
so well organized.
And to actually dive down to those questions again. What were those explanations? You know, he mentioned something about that TR. What was that TR? You can go back to that exam and say, hey, I got this. This is the one I got wrong. This is the reason for it. So you can go back to it. So at any time. And so the information is always available to you. And every course that we have is a 1-year membership. So you have access to that for one full year.
Oh, I love that.
And yeah.
Man. And if
Well, this
they
is
go
very
through
cool.
Zone 3 podcast,
Yeah, if you go through Zone 3 podcast,
you might get a discount,
yes, exactly.
right? We'll put a link in the description.
Well, thank you for coming today, Matt. Appreciate that.
sure.
I think your website's super impressive and very helpful. I know that myself has found to be very helpful, and others as well. So
Right. I can only imagine how much time it took to get all
that's
this
what I'm
together.
thinking. The logistics of building this website.
Yeah,
Some
it took
time
a
and
while.
effort put into it, and
Right.
you didn't cut any corners. It sounds like you were really thoughtful about like the people who are going to be using it,
For
which
sure.
I appreciate the most. You know?
Dang. I got the name. It gives you the right advantage.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
New tagline. Thank you, Reggie.
Now look into the camera and say that again.
Yeah, exactly. Right there.
We're going to Disney World.
Well, thank you again, Matt. Did you have anything
very
else
welcome.
you wanted to include?
No, I think we covered most of it. And if there's any questions, you can find email contact on the site and send any questions as well.
And we've had you as a previous guest, so you've answered this before, so you can't give the same answer.
Okay.
But what would you find to be the most satisfying part of your career so far?
Okay, so I can't use the same one as before.
So the second most.
The second most.
Yeah,
I think
second
it's satisfying, and I probably should have switched them up, but like going to finding an implant and solving these like complex implants, I think is one of those satisfying things. You have this manufacturer condition that is like 17 pages of, you know, different little things. If you're on 3T versus 1.5 in this area versus
Right.
this area, and when you finally figure it out and you scan this patient safely, man, that reward that you get, that you've applied everything that you've learned, everything that you know, it's just absolutely an amazing
Right.
feeling.
And this is on a patient who's been turned away from so many facilities.
Yes, and there's lost. I mean, this poor patient. I mean, we're not thinking about the patient at that point. We kind of talked about it last time, where it's a easy
a
to say no.
challenge, yeah.
And just the extra effort to be able to get this patient scanned and now get them an answer to why they've been feeling this.
Right.
And unfortunately, there's so many sites out there that would easily turn them away. But if you could be that one tech, if there's any tech out there, and you could be that one tech to be the individual to actually scan this patient safely and get them an answer and change their life essentially, and be that patient
Help
advocate.
them, yeah.
I mean, that's completely worth it.
Man.
So.
Well, Matt, really enjoyed our conversation.
Yes,
You're
thank you.
awesome. Thank you again for coming.
Yeah.
I'll give you a pound. But yeah, thank you. Check out his website. It's Riteadvantage.com.
Yes, MRIBuzz.com. Check that one out.